Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is designing your life. So, how fun is that going to be? Talking about creating a life of our dreams and how to move from here to there. Uh, it's not just one easy lesson, but we're going to start the conversation, see where we go with it. But before we get started, let's take a minute to settle in and get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and imagine bright, clear, crisp oxygen flowing into your lungs and into your bloodstream and into all the cells of your body and your organs and just enlivening and invigorating you. And as you exhale any tension in your body, in your neck, shoulders, back, your jaw, your hips, your legs, your arms. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it, and this time imagine sparkling white light coursing throughout your being, through every molecule, vibrating and enlivening and uplifting your energy. And as you exhale any remaining stress or tension or tiredness. And let's just bring ourselves here right now to place our palms softly together and softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the tingling and the tickling in your fingers and in your palms, and how delicious that is. You can even rub your fingertips together and just feel that, like presence yourself to this moment where you are having that sensation that you're creating. And let's bring ourselves present. So, it's Friday, and I think that, for those of us who still have weekends, meaning as distinct from other days, I think for a lot of folks, we've had the days blend into one another through COVID and unusual schedules and such. But with facing the weekend, this is a great opportunity, perhaps, if you can eke out some time to play with some of what we're going to discuss today. So many of us fall into a life that just sort of happens. We we go to school or we don't go to school, and then after school we need to get a job, or if we don't go to school we need to get a job, and we go hunting for a job, and we find a job that hires us, and then we do that job, and we either like it or we don't like it, or we tolerate it, and um, and our lives unfold that way, and we don't necessarily find ourselves with satisfaction. In fact, I know a number of people, and I was among this group who, who, for instance, had a wonderful job, had a wonderful family, had a beautiful house, had a wonderful car, had all the things and accoutrements that we value, or we've been taught to value, for creating a good life. And even with all those things being wonderful, they had a profound and unending deep sense of despair, because what came up was, and this happens for so many people who achieve marvelous things, the question comes up, is this all there is? And that is a devastating and also enlightening question that can open doors to the, I'm going to say, mission that we each came here to fulfill, and the authentic expression, if we take on that question. Now, it's a threatening question. It's a threatening question because you might look around in your life and say, you know what? I'm not happy with this relationship, or I'm not happy with this job. What am I going to do? And so a lot of folks are content not to, or determined not to rock the boat and to just live out life with the cards they've been dealt. And uh, other people find that option unbearable and impossible. And I know for me, the despair at the life that had unfolded for me, or that I unfolded for myself in an other than conscious way, was intolerable. And I felt like my soul was just being crushed and dying. And so that sent me on an exploration. And I'm wondering if you guys are here today, if you're excited about this idea of designing your life. Maybe you could give me some feedback, let me know that you're out there. Um, anyway, so this deep, deep, deep sense of despair put me on a path of discovery. And what I realized was that I was terrified. I was terrified of really taking on the ownership of my desires for life and my dreams. So Kim, thank you so much. Hi, welcome. I'm really glad you're here, and thank you for chiming in. Kim says, yes, I love the idea of designing my own life. So I was inspired to be looking, and good morning, Dido. Great to have you here. And Kim says, deliberate creation. Exactly. Because we're always creating. It just might not be in a conscious way. So what I discovered, a friend of mine was putting on a course around a book called Designing Your Life. It's by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, I think. And there's a whole Designing Your Life movement. And I use that as the foundation for really looking at the kind of life I wanted to create. Now, the first step in this path to designing your life is actually getting to know yourself. And what I realized is that through my years and years and years, and thousands upon tens of thousands of dollars of personal growth work and training and transformational stuff, that I really had never taken the time to dig into getting to know me on a deep level. I've done a lot of personality tests, and I've had astrology readings and all of that, but those things were kind of outward assessments versus my inward sourcing and experiencing and discovering my own deep patterns and priorities and desires. So what that book was really wonderfully helpful with was ways to go about discovering yourself and beyond. But one of the things that was in the book was an energy meter. And what the energy meter allows you to do is to look at all the different things you do in a given day, in a given week, etc., and the things that energize you, and what about those things energizes you, and the things that deplete you, and what about those things deplete you. And this is a way to start to discover some of your passions that you might not be aware of. To recognize when you're doing something and time just flows. Like you fall into a state, or you rise to a state where time just disappears and you're so immersed and you don't experience the passage of time. People often well, we call that the flow state, and people often experience it when they're doing creative type projects. But all of us have different things that put us in flow, where we're just present in the moment. And that's where magic happens, by the way. So we also get to look at what our strengths are. What our strengths are. Like, what are you really good at? That and I know some of you may be challenged to imagine that you're good at something, but I guarantee you there are things that you are not only good at, but exceptional at. And look at the things that you enjoy doing. What are the things that you do when you have time to choose to do something? And when you choose to do those things, the things that you like, what is it about those things that you like? So this is a treasure hunt, and you're the treasure. And you get to discover all these wonderful things that you didn't even know about yourself, or that you pretended weren't important. So once you start getting this list of all these wonderful things that you've found, the things that enliven you, the things that deplete you, the activities that you do when you have time, free time, the things that you dream of. One of the things that's a wonderful way to start gaining direction about your your designed life is to look at the dreams you had when you were a kid, and the kinds of games you played, etc., when you were a kid. And I find it really interesting that when I was a kid, I played, well, one of the things I did was show and tell. And I would find things that were really cool, or my dad was a really interesting guy and had all kinds of wonderful, unusual things, from animals to share with people, and all kinds of stuff. So I would have these really cool things, and I would share them with people. And I enjoyed seeing the spark of curiosity and recognition, and it was a way for me to create communication with people too. So interestingly, I also used to play school. And I've always been a nerd, self-confessed. I even at one point trademarked "Get Nerdy with Me." That's how much of a nerd I am. So, and I had a training center for 18 years, teaching Adobe software like Photoshop and Illustrator, InDesign, wrote a couple books. So I really, truly am a nerd, and I take pride in that. And I mean it in the best possible way. So, I played school, and that whole idea of teaching. Oh, the other thing I always did was I was always there to give advice when people wanted advice and support. And I was always fascinated by the dynamics of the mind, and all of these things have shown up in my life now, in the coaching practice, in these practices, or this daily get together that I have with you, and even in my Sustainability Now podcast, where I get to meet all these amazing people from around the world doing remarkable things to create a world that works. And I get to showcase them. So we show and tell. So it's so funny to me how, and I have this vision of an eco park. From the time I was a kid, I imagined this big, at least 200-acre, if not bigger, uh, place that was a theme park of some sort or another, that went through bunches of different iterations. At one point, I dreamt of it being a history village or a history park, where you could go and actually be immersed in different times in history, where you would eat the food from that time, where you would wear the clothes of that time, or you could go and have an experience, a kind of time travel thing. And over the years, that has morphed into my vision of this eco park that is a phantasmagorical World's Fair for all things sustainable and regenerative and planet loving, and creating new possibilities for the future with things that already exist and also technologies that are emerging. So interestingly, when I was immersed in this exploration, rediscovering all these things about myself as a kid. And now, having gone through the process designing my life, and it's a constant redesign, by the way, it's a constant engagement, but finding the things that I like and the things that I don't like, and skewing your time more and more toward the things that you like if you're in a job that you like, I'm sure that there are things that you need to do as part of that job that aren't your favorite things, but the parts that you like are strong enough to make the job overall a benefit to you. What we get to do is to start looking at the things that are our strengths that we enjoy. Sometimes you have strengths that you don't enjoy. Like I've had strengths and capacities and capabilities with things that I really didn't enjoy. So you want to look at what you really enjoy and start skewing life to honor more of that. If you're in a job that you're not happy with, let's look at what does make you happy and start designing a job that would fulfill those things that you do like. And the idea here is that we get to think outside the box. But I do recommend, as a jumping off point, to get that book, Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett, I believe, and Dave Evans, I think. And there's a whole website, and I'm sure there's Facebook group and everything all about it as well. And you also might want to go to my website at yourcoreconnection.com, and there's a tab in there that says Blueprint. And if you sign up for my email list, there's a booklet that I wrote, an ebook that is called Your Inner Success Blueprint: 5 Keys to Discovering What You Were Born to Do. And I invite you to check it out because it's really about finding your mission, passion, and purpose. So we've talked about the flow state, that's talked about in the book that I wrote as well. And it's a really short book. Another really important thing on your way to designing your life is to get clear on your core values, because you want to design a life that supports your values. And I know at one point I was in sales. I was in sales for a bunch of years. And thank you, Dido. Dido put in a link to the Inner Success Blueprint. You actually put in the download link. So that way people don't have to sign up for the email list. If you want to sign up for the email list, though, that would be awesome too. And not that I've put out any emails yet, but I intend to soon. So you can get on the list and receive whatever happens when it happens. Anyway, where was I? Let me think. Oh, so I was in sales for a bunch of years, hated it, hated it, hated it. And I was really good at it. I was really good at it because for me, it was all about relationships. It wasn't about, I was selling eyewear, eyeglass frames to opticians, optometrists, and ophthalmologists for years. And for me, the value in that job that I really loved was that I was seeing my friends. I got to go visit my friends on a routine basis, and that was pretty awesome. And I once had someone who observed me interacting with one of my accounts at a trade show say, watching you sell is like watching someone having tea, because, or watching people having tea together, because for me it was all about relationship and connection, and I love that. But then I started thinking, oh my gosh, you know, what am I doing? This is how important, how meaningful is it to sell people eyeglass frames? Like, is that what the meaning of my life is? And for me, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It was nowhere near enough. And so I eventually transitioned out of that, and that into a teaching position, being a trainer for software that was creative software. And that met a bunch of my needs, because I was really loving creativity, and I love learning. I love learning. And so I was stimulated, and there was a lot of difference, and I got to communicate with people, and I got to do show and tell. So I hope you're getting the theme here, is to be looking at the things that make your heart happy. Jeff Wood says, what about feeding the inner child? Yes, well, that's what this is about. This is about feeding the inner child and the outer adult. You know, the child that we were was a lot more closely connected to knowing what gave that child joy. And as we grow up, we think that we're being responsible and putting aside the things of childhood. And the truth is that the things and the passions from our childhood are the keys to our happiness as adults. We knew this as kids. We knew what made us happy. Hopefully we did. And we have forgotten it over the years. And that's where this invitation is to engage in an exploration of the the person, the soul, the bright light that you are, and what you came here to do. Dido, thank you so much for putting the link for Designing Your Life, that book. I think it'll offer you a really good foundation. And the thing that was not in that book that is in my ebook about finding your purpose is the last question, or the last key, is what breaks your heart. And that may seem like a downer. That might seem like, why are you talking about that when you're talking about designing your life? Well, the thing that calls to your heart more than anything is the thing that is the key to your mission. The thing, like for me, just as an example, for me, every time I thought about what we are doing to our planet and to nature, my heart would break. It just would bring me to tears. And more than anything, I love animals. I love working with consciousness and personal transformation. But the thing that broke my heart was what we're doing to the planet, and thereby ourselves and each other. And so when I connected to that, I couldn't bear the helplessness of it. I couldn't bear the hopelessness of it. And so I needed to look at, what can I do? What can I do? And what I came up with for me is, I can find something hopeful. And that was what birthed the whole idea of the Eco Park and my podcast that I share with my co-founder, Scott Billy. And that's called Sustainability Now. If you want to check it out, it's at sustainabilitynow.global. And now as a result of that, I have to say that when I came up with that idea and then decided to do a podcast, I had no idea how to do any of it. And that's the thing about your vision and designing the life you really want. What I invite you to do is to step beyond the accoutrements of life as the life you want for yourself. I mean, yes, to imagine where you want to live and how you want to live, that's an important thing. But what you're dedicating your heart to is the most important thing. And the where you want to live and how much money you want to earn and all of that, that's a side effect. That's not the calling of your heart. That doesn't have the intrinsic power to connect with your soul that finding your purpose does. Because I know so many people who have gotten that perfect house and had the perfect family and had the perfect life from the outside and were miserable because they didn't have that core sense of purpose and a sense of vitality and joy doing the things that feed their soul and being the expression, the authentic expression of their inner song that we all long to be. So that's the encouragement here, that when you're designing your life, you want to be having the time to do the things you love or to engage in the things that you love. You want to be doing things that give you a sense of purpose and meaning, and understand this is not an overnight process. And one of the things that was spoken about in the book, I find really, really brilliant in terms of its insight, and I want to share that with you. And that is, you might imagine that you want to do something, but you've never done it before. And um, one of the things they suggest in the book is finding a way to test it out, to do a trial run. And they gave a wonderful example of a woman who loved I think she loved baking. I don't know exactly all the details of the story, but you'll get the gist. She dreamt of having a tea room where you could go and have wonderful pastries. Maybe it was a bakery, I don't know, and hang out. And so she started this business, and it was tremendously successful. And she was tremendously miserable. Why? Because she enjoyed being in that environment. She didn't enjoy doing the things that environment as a business required. So, maybe it was hiring people and managing things and dealing with all the administration and supply chains and who knows what else. But that wasn't what she loved. She loved being in the cafe, not having the cafe. And so I think that's what happens for a lot of us is we think we're going to love doing something, even in this idea of designing our lives. And then when we test it out, it's like, not so much, not so much, not loving that. So it's not a once and done process. It's not an overnight process. It's an evolution. So even if you're in a job you hate right now, this is the beginning of you freeing yourself, because you get to start to discover what turns you on. And then you get to evolve into that over time by exploring and it is a tremendously wonderful adventure. So like for me, even, I knew that I wanted to build out sustainability now, and that's a work in progress constantly. And also I decided to build out a coaching practice, because as you know already, consciousness is the foundation for everything, and being able to contribute to the expansion of people's authentic expression and their connection with the soul, the song of their souls, to me is a way that I can amplify my impact in the world. And I also really get a lot of reward and connection from working with the folks in my program. It's really amazing. So and I needed to make a living too. So because sustainability now is an act of love at this point. So um, Jeff Woods says, "Can we ask the elementals for help?" Jeff, you know what? I'm thinking whoever you want to ask for help that you can get good communication from, go for it. Why not? Um, the biggest thing, maybe ask them for inspiration and how to discover these things about yourself. Maybe they see things about you that you don't see. That's another thing, is you can ask your friends, what do they see in you as your talents and your skills, or your strengths and your weaknesses. Now that can be a scary conversation, because you might hear things that you don't really want to hear. But if you're brave enough, oftentimes people outside us know things about us that way before we do. You know, they can see things about us that we don't see. So that's another way to get greater awareness of what's going on for you. But I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. I was talking about building out this coaching practice, and I had an idea of how I wanted it to be. And what I found is that I needed to massage things. I need to shift things around to give myself the spaciousness that I need in my life. And so it's always an evolution, you know, how you set things up, how you schedule things, how you prioritize your time. It's all an evolution, and it's really exciting, and the most creative, and the probably the most important thing that you can do in in your life to move toward the deepest fulfillment that you can, or that's available to you, is to really start taking stock and taking an active hand in designing your life from nothing. And when I say from nothing, what I mean is without the presuppositions, without the prejudgments about what's possible, because there's so much more possibility than we allow ourselves to imagine. And starting to tap into that, and moving into that dimensional frequency of possibility, opens up the room for miracles and synchronicities, because all of a sudden your attention and intention is placed in a different direction. And I can tell you, I've seen this with people over and over again, where coincidence, and I say that with massive air quotes, after coincidence occurs, where synchronicities, where opportunities arise, where really miraculous things happen when we wake up to our capacity as creators of our own lives. And so, on that note, I really hope that this has been fun for you. I hope it sparks a ember and a fire that grows into a deep passion for your discovery of who you are in your life, and actually looking at what it would be to be living a life that you love and that is fulfilling and enriching and inspiring. So, and filled with meaning for you, the meaning that lights you up. And I wish that for you more than anything. I think now It's more important than any time in history that people step into the purpose and mission that we each came here to fulfill. And what I mean by purpose and mission and fulfillment is not like a heavy burden, but a joyful celebration of your unique being. And anyway, it is Friday. And so I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I hope that you will carve out some time to fill yourself with the wonders of discovering yourself and move forward with it. Jeff, you're so welcome. I'm really glad you were here. And I'm glad all of you were here this morning. Thank you so much. If this speaks to you, share it, like it, would you? Because I'd love to build this community of folks in this conversation every day during the week. This is the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin. I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And we go live on the Facebook page of Enlightened World Network on all those days. And please check out the phenomenal programming on Enlightened World Network, daily meditations, and so much more. So lots and lots of love and deep compassion to you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you here next week.